That's right. Welcome and welcome back, folks, to a winning time is finally upon us. Notre Dame, Ohio State preview edition of the Always Irish Show. As always, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. Notifications on you. Be alerted every time something makes me mad and I got to record on it. Twitter, search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me. You can find me. Call-in line. A lot of you have been using it this week. Keep it coming, especially for the Saturday startup. 312-900-8815. Program it in your phone. With me today to discuss is none other than managing editor of USA Today's Fighting Irish Wire. It is at Nick Shepkowski /and/or at Irish Wire ND. Nick, welcome in. How are you feeling? We're a few days out. Where are you at?
It's game week. It's finally game week. I hate Mondays more than anything. I got out of bed at 4:45 this past Monday, and I shot out like a cannonball out of a cannon. I was so stinking excited. I'm like, it is finally game week. Okay, the Nebraska Northwestern thing was fun. College football was back. I stayed up and watched Clark Lee beat the living hell out of Hawaii on Saturday night. That was cool. That was a nice little kickoff and nice little warm up. Hey, it's main event time, like you said. It's winning time, and for as long as I've watched Notre Dame football, this is about as big an opener as I can remember in my time of watching Fighting Irish football. This is as big as they get. I mean, you have new coach, all the storylines write themselves. You have the two biggest powers in the Midwest currently going right now, as Notre Dame's trying to catch Ohio State on that front. They have to go to one of the toughest places to play in all of college football, and the world is going to be watching, and not a soul out there is giving Notre Dame a chance, and I'm kind of with Marcus Freeman on that. Great. Make it that way. Make it be the only people in that actually believe Notre Dame has a chance in this thing, and the people in that room, because that's really ultimately, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. If they believe, it doesn't matter what the hell you or I think.
I think that's very well stated, and kind of feeding off your point, you talked about that belief internally, us versus the world and all that. What I think is very interesting is what's totally new about this dynamic is everything you said certainly applies. I just think now we might have a coach that can help cater some of those feelings of playing up the underdog card, getting guys fired up, making the Notre Dame guys realize nobody's giving you a chance. Let some of that emotion rip in a big game. I think you're more likely to see some of that under Freeman era teams that we didn't see under Swamp Thing. And that gives me some new encouragement here that wouldn't be there if Kelly was coaching this game.
So you mean to tell me that it's not just a business trip to Columbus?
Yeah, punch
it's
in,
not just a business
out,
trip, not just briefcases and lunch buckets or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's more than that. And the emotions are going to maybe reflect that it's
wild.
A business trip, and that might be a positive. You don't
crazy
say,
idea.
Possibly.
I
you
know
go into
that
a hostile environment for a change, and
hey, man,
I'll be down 41-8 against a team you're better than.
I mean it 100%. If this was Kelly, it's a loss, and it's a matter of by how much. I would have no faith in him in this environment based off his history in this environment. Not having the same horses is different than not having your guys emotionally and mentally prepared for gridiron war. That's something he could never do. I go into this with more encouragement that I think this guy is going to do a better job in those areas. However, practically, how do you see this? I see Notre Dame having a path to victory, but it is narrow, and they need to stay on that path, and I don't think they could take too many steps off of it and still have a chance. So, yes, Notre Dame could win, but they're going to have to play great week one in a tough environment with a lot of new pieces to make it happen. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the 17.5 that the spread has sat at. I mean, I get it. Ohio State's got firepower. Ohio State's got as probably as good an offense as there is in all of college football this year. They have the best set of receivers there are. They have one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks, the Heisman favorite in C.J. Stroud. I get it. Ohio State can put up points. You saw it when they were getting their tails kicked a little bit last year in the Rose Bowl, and then you blink all of a sudden like, holy God. There's some things to remember with this, though. This Ohio State team, as great as it is, that was a beat-up Utah secondary. They had a guy playing running back and playing corner that they're picking on in that game. Like, there were some great – I'm not trying to undersell Ohio State here, but anytime you say something that's along these lines and Ohio State people get in your mentions and they think you're the worst thing on earth, Ohio State has a great offense. But it's not like you're not looking at Joe Burrow and company from the 2019 LSU team or 2020 Alabama here. Like, it's really stinking good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it confused. Don't get it twisted what I'm trying to say. But, I mean, this isn't like I'm a little hesitant to look at it and just be like, yep, that's hands down. That's going to be when you look at it at the end of the year, that's going to be the highest scoring offense, and there's not going to be a team that can beat them because I don't know. I mean, you saw what Michigan was able to do when Michigan was able to control lines of scrimmage against this team last year. Can Notre Dame do that? Is Jarrett Patterson going to be healthy on this? I think that goes a very long way in determining what Notre Dame's offense is able to do, what kind of time they're able to manage offensively. I think there's some big things here that if they fall Notre Dame's way, it's going to take a lot of dominoes to fall the right way, but they're at least set up that something positive can happen from this. And like you said, how many times with Brian Kelly did you go into a game in this kind of avenue and in this kind of atmosphere and just said, all right, well, just play conservatively and try not to lose by 30?
Yeah, I said that on one of my, I don't even remember, earlier in the week. I literally said that. Kelly would play this game to try and not lose by a lot, not play this game to try and win it. And that is one change that I really want to see. Everybody's focused on Notre Dame's defense, trying to control their explosive offense. And, everybody's going to have trouble doing that this year. You're going to give up yards. You're going to give up some chunks just because you are against a team that's skilled. Limit it to threes, make it not sevens. That's a recipe.
That's huge, right? Yep.
Give up a ton of yards all you want. Give up fancy plays and, whatever. But if you could limit it to some threes instead of sevens, that's a victory. And I wouldn't say that against Cal or Marshall, but this ain't Cal or Marshall. This is Ohio State at their place, night one, week one, year one of this operation. But I really think the more this week progresses, the more I'm focused on that matchup of Notre Dame's offensive line against the defensive front of Ohio State. Equally important to the defense of Notre Dame playing well, that offense needs to help them by moving the ball themselves, eating up the clock. You don't need to run it for 275 or 3 spins, but you need to do enough that you can eat up some time, not have quick 3 and outs, put their offense back on the field. That's a big deal to me. And you always say, oh, football is determined up front on the lines. That's cliche. That's boring. I get it. But there's some unique things here. Ohio State's offensive line, I'm not sure I trust yet. A lot of talent, but young and some question marks. I don't know about that. Is that an area where Notre Dame can win? I don't know. So I'm looking at that offensive line Notre Dame matchup having every bit as much to do with what our defense does, because I need them to keep the ball.
Yeah, I think it's really easy. It's really basic. Like, we look at all of this and we break down games and, oh my God, the fancy offenses and this and that and the other and RPOs and everything's crazy and it's such a different game. At the end of the day, it's still so similar to the game that Newt Rockne and everyone else coached. You control the middle of the field. You control the line of scrimmage. Chances are you're going to control the game. If Notre Dame, and that's why I have real trouble with this being 17.5 points, because Ohio State's offensive line isn't struggling. Let's not act like that. Notre Dame's a top 5 defensive line unit in college football this year. That's when Foskey comes back, when you have the Adam and Evola brothers. on the defensive front. Like, this is Riley Mills. It's gonna. I think Riley Mills is primed for just a coming out party of sorts this year. I think that is an absolute beast in the making. I'm excited to see him with a little bit more game reps and a little bit of experience under his belt. Like, this is a top 5 defensive line unit in all college football, and it has a chance to be really, really damn near elite in that department. And if you're able to do that, then all of a sudden, Ohio State happens to have one of those guys that can overcome it in CJ Stroud. He's the Heisman favorite for a reason, and he's as good a quarterback, one of the 2 or 3 best at worst quarterbacks in all of college football. He makes up for a ton of this because he can improvise. Not that he's the best runner necessarily, but because he can maneuver a pocket, because he can field pressures, because he can relies on great receivers, but he makes it happen with that as well. And so that's where having one of those, established elite quarterback comes into play. And that's something that, Tyler Buckner, we hope he turns into that. We know that he's not that right now. And that's where there's so much of this difference of, oh my God, Notre Dame can handle the line of scrimmage. Notre Dame can do this. Notre Dame can hold the ball for 35, 36 plus minutes in this game, and everything can go right. And then you just have that X factor of he'll make a couple of throws and a couple of plays that just leave you, what the hell are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to defend it? Because he's got the receivers to go up and make plays, and he's not just the arm strength, he's got the brains to go along with it too. He's a good stinking player. And I mean, that's the difference between having one of the truly elite 2 or 3 quarterbacks in college football and not.
Yep. And that's a struggle that Notre Dame fans are intimately familiar with, because we've been asking and begging and waiting for Notre Dame to have proven, go into a season with a proven elite quarterback that
go Eagles, right?
That you can build around. And we just never seem to have that luxury. So, that's tough to see around the country when we don't have it. But it leads me into Tyler Buckner. Now, a lot of potential. We talk all the time about the delayed developmental arc due to COVID and injuries, things out of his control. We talk about all that. This is a big ask of him. He's California cool. He stays pretty level, unlike me. Like, at least I'm self-aware. I ride it. I'm up and down all the time. This guy is Joe California cool. The moment's not going to be too big for him. But physically, how would you put him in the best position to navigate this environment, which might be the toughest one you could have your first start in? He might feed off that and love that. But if you're Reese and Freeman and you're sitting there, how would you build this offense for game 1 to put him in a position to succeed?
I mean, I think high risk, high reward here. Everyone thinks Notre Dame's going to come out and try to just pound the ball, hold the ball for 36, 37 minutes. I mean, do you remember the first year of Ty Willingham? 2 games that stick out. The Michigan game early on in the year, and the Florida State game about halfway through. And I mean, that was ball control, West Coast, dink and dunk offense. But in both those games, they come out, play action deep. They don't connect on the first play against Michigan. They come back, they do it a second play in a row. They connect, they're ahead early. Against Florida State on his battle, burns the entire secondary, goes for a touchdown. Part of me just says, you know what? Bleep it.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Okay, let's see what we got here. No
But
one expects
Nick,
it to happen. Hey, Lorenzo Styles, you're out here playing in front of your brother who just committed to Ohio State, and go run past somebody. Hey, Braden Lenzy, like, everyone thinks the run's coming here. Go run past someone, Tyler. Let's see how far you can throw it and see what happens. Take our chances. Because, chances are it's probably going to be an incomplete pass, and you're sitting at 2nd and 10, and you're behind on the sticks and whatnot. But say you hit it, and say that crowd is just, holy shit, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like,
here's what I think about this exact dynamic you're talking about. I think Notre Dame fans are probably open to it because it's such a differing style than what we've been used to, where you literally felt like these huge games, it was like Kelly's plan is how to lose by the least amount rather than how do we try and win.
How do you cover the 13 or 17?
Right. So I think Notre Dame people would be open to that aggression. It can't be reckless, but Notre Dame's probably going to have to pick some spots to do some of that stuff. And I feel like this is a fan base that might be open to it just because it's different than not trying to win the biggest games and being as conservative as you could possibly be with those playoff game planning or whatever. So I'm open to that. I'm telling you, there are certain times, this happens with golfers all the time. You got some young guy who ends up winning a Ryder Cup match or a major when they're real young. Sometimes that's in their benefit, that the moment isn't too big for them because they haven't been around long enough to realize how big that moment is. There could be some of that in here where Buckner's like, forget it. I've waited forever to have this be my offense. Let's ride and throw it all out there. I'm even all for a little, I don't want to call it an option. Give me a little package with Estime blocking in front of Buckner and letting him. I don't know, but I'm open to it. Get creative. I think you might need it.
Yeah, I think you're going to need it because if you're Ohio State, what are you doing? You're playing to take away the run. You're trying to take away Michael Mayer, and you're letting everyone else probably try and beat you on Saturday night. Like those are if I'm defensive coordinator at Ohio State, that's my game plan. Okay, what do you have to do to contain Michael Mayer because he's a freak? He's going to dictate coverages. Make Tyler Buckner show me that he can complete any throws that aren't over the middle of the field with any consistency. Do that and don't get run all over. Like that's my 3 goals really if I'm Ohio State defensively in this game. Make the rest of it beat me. Well, if that's what they're going to give you, if that's what they're going to set up to try to say beat me, be prepared to be able to have to exploit that. And someone else is going to have to make a play here. I know we spent a lot of time this offseason talking about the receivers and the mess that Del Alexander left in his wake. But all right, if you're playing with that chip on your shoulder with the prove me type attitude and the no one believes in us and we're better than everyone says we are, this is one of those chances of, okay, go exploit it then. Go show us what you're made of. Go out there and show me something here. Because you're going to have to make a play. If Notre Dame's going to be in this, it's going to come down to receivers doing some things that I don't think a lot of people expect them to be able to do going into it.
You kind of just hit on my final point on this. And it is, this isn't Cal, this isn't Marshall, whatever. This is Ohio State. We think we have our knowns, guys that we can rely on. You know what Styles is. You know what you're getting out of Mayer. You know what you're going to get. I think for Notre Dame to win this game, you got to have some positive surprises on both sides of the ball, meaning not Foskey doing Foskey things that we expected and need Foskey to do. I need Foskey to do those things and Riley Mills to do those things. And on offense, like you said, you need Styles to be a dude. You need those running backs to be good, blah, blah. I need one of the Merriweather. Go ahead and win the Ohio State game. Go make a one-handed catch over their defense and break the game. I think Notre Dame's going to need contributions from what are currently question marks rather than knowns to get this where we want it to be this week. So with that being said, how do you see this playing out, Nick? How do you see this playing out?
I mean, like I think we both said and alluded to, there's a path. There's a reason to believe Notre Dame can go win this game. There's just a lot of, if it goes off the road at all, it's a real narrow path. And there's a lot of obstacles the second you get off. It's not one of those of, hey, you're playing Syracuse, you're playing Georgia Tech, or you're playing Navy, and you can sleepwalk through a half, and you're well off the path, and you're still tied. No, this is one of those you get off the path, and all of a sudden you blink, and you're down 21, and you're back in Brian Kelly mode, trying to do whatever you can to cover the spread, and that's your only hope of things. There's a path to actually win this game. I truly do believe that. I just think it's incredibly narrow. I expect a hell of a showing, though. I expect this to be. I'm shocked that the line is as high as it is. When I see 17.5 there, and with the threat of that even being bigger, I don't understand it. Notre Dame is better up front on both sides of the football. That is going to win them a lot in this game. And I think that the biggest difference is, like I said earlier, I think C.J. Stroud is the biggest difference. I trust him. I don't know what Buckner is as a starting quarterback. I trust the receivers that Stroud's throwing to more than I trust Notre Dame's right now. But with all that said, I think Notre Dame puts up a fight in this. I think they're in this thing in the fourth quarter. I don't think they win. I think Ohio State ultimately wins by 7 to 10 points. You're looking like 34 to 24-ish, 34-27, somewhere in there. But I think this is a strong showing in Marcus Freeman's first game that no one wants to give him a snowball's chance in.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble nailing the number, like the scores, like how high this scoring is going to be. But I kind of agree with you. And it's like there is that path, and we both acknowledge it. It's very clear to me what it is, but I'm just worried that all it's going to take is one thing along those string of the path to not go right, and it throws everything out of whack. I expect Notre Dame to get a little bump of emotion from the Freeman era and the excitement of that and the new vibe and the new energy. I do think that's going to be in play a little bit. I think Notre Dame hangs in there, plays tough, but the proven elite playmakers they have make the one or two plays that they just have to make to get this done. And I think Ohio State by 10, maybe 10. I think that game's close, late third quarter. Notre Dame's around, but maybe they're chasing. I'm nervous about Notre Dame's offense. Maybe, 35-24, somewhere in that range. I don't want to even start thinking about Notre Dame giving up in the 40s. You can't do that. Maybe, 35, somewhere in that range to allow against this team week one. I can't, in good faith, pick Notre Dame to win a game like this till we're a little further down the road. I just can't, out of respect for what I see that's already been more proven at Ohio State side. I do not think Notre Dame leaves this game embarrassed, getting mocked, having, the recruiting goes to hell because look at what happened. I don't see that. I think there's too much veteran leadership to let it go that far down a bad, dark path. But until proven otherwise, and I know that I can rely on more with Notre Dame's offense, I got Ohio State by about what you did, 7 to 10, but not an embarrassing showing for Notre Dame. And they might walk that straight and narrow and change everything real quick. They could.
They certainly could. They certainly could.
They could. Pull out your Lou Holtz, whatever. This guy has the it, and I want to see some of it.
I wonder if he'd respond to 8 letters. I gotta see some. I wonder if this guy would respond to 8 letters that Lou sent him.
Don't even get me started. We're not doing that. That's a different show.